Hello everyone, this is the Vortex Chicken and welcome back to Explosive Bunnies. So it is finally out. The Summoner No-Hits video that I'm sure you've all been putting your lives on hold to wait for. Anyway, before you get your hopes up, no, I did not actually defeat the Wall of Flesh. I just decided that I would not put it in this video. Because, one, I was getting tired of trying the Wall of Flesh, and two, the Deerclops is now a thing, and so I thought I could just start the next video with the Deerclops and then go through Deerclops, Wall of Flesh, and all the hard mode bosses. So sorry to disappoint, but this video will only have the first 6 boss fights, those being King Slime, Eye of Cthulhu, Eater of Worlds, Brain of Cthulhu, Queen Bee, and Skeletron. So, you know the drill. No damage taken, normal mode, no buff potions, and this time, strict summoner. So this is the gear that I used for the first part of this video. It did change pretty much after every boss fight, but you'll be able to see those changes pretty easily. Anyway, the first boss fight was King Slime. As I've said before, easiest boss there ever will be. I don't understand how people have trouble with this boss, and sometimes I even accidentally no-hit this boss because you just run one direction. And with Summoner, that's actually even easier, because your summons, if they're nice and well behaved, will just stay on the boss. So you will notice that I have a broken copper short sword in my hotbar that I switch to when I get too far away from the King Slime. And that is because holding a melee weapon will make anything work for the sharpening station, even summons, so I'm getting just a few more points of damage from the sharpening station if I hold the broken copper short sword. Also, it's a broken copper short sword because hee funny broken copper short sword. So King Slime was not all that hard. Next boss, Eye of Cthulhu. So this boss is a little harder than the King Slime, simply because there's a chance that it can hit you, and because you're fighting it in the dead of night when there are zombies around, but with the new Summoner gear, neither of these bosses was really a challenge at all. I got them both in one try, and the Flink Staff and Vampire Frog Staff really do make a great combination, especially when you can get the Snapthorn in, and when you can't, you just hold a broken copper short sword, and it's the most useful a broken copper short sword has ever been. So as the Eye of Cthulhu fell, the next boss to take on was the Eater of Worlds, and yeah, I did it in 4 attempts, but I was not recording. So I had to do it again, and it was at nighttime. Pitch black. Makes for great video quality, I know. I'm so sorry that I wasn't recording the attempt that was in the daytime, and I was too impatient, I guess, to wait for it to be day again, so I just did it again at night. But really, there's no reason that it should have taken me 4 attempts to beat this boss, because it's so easy on normal mode, and just look at the damage that the vampire frogs are getting in. This was obviously a longer boss fight because of the number of segments and the amount of health that it has, but really the Eater of Worlds in normal mode poses no threat, because if you just stay on the top platform and you have a little bit of good dodging, and you don't get too unlucky with the Eaters of Souls and whatever other enemies will attack you during the boss fight, you're pretty much good for a no-hit. And I would say that the biggest problem for a lot of these fights were just the side enemies, the normal enemies that I couldn't get rid of. So after Eater of Worlds came Brain of Cthulhu, because I'm doing both of those just to showcase what it would be like on a Corruption world or a Crimson world. And so for the Brain of Cthulhu, this boss was very easy with Ranger and not too hard with Mage. The main problem with Mage was the knockback, and you'll see that got me a little in the Summoner fight as well. In addition to one time that the Brain just teleported on top of me. So the Creeper phase itself was not too hard, because other than that one time when it teleported onto me, I got past this phase every time. And then the phase that was just the Brain, the knockback was a little bit of a problem, but if I was able to kill it quick enough, it was pretty easy. So that took 5 attempts. Now on to Queen Bean. This boss took 14 attempts with Ranger and 15 attempts with Mage, so I thought I was in for something really bad, but Obsidian Armor, Snapthorn, and Imp Staff are actually pretty overpowered. I had a really big arena, and nothing bad really happened. I got pretty close every time just getting a little closer, until finally on just my 5th attempt, I was able to win. Since the Old One's Army is available after Eater of Worlds and Brain of Cthulhu, I tried out some of those sentries that you can get from Tier 1 of Old One's Army, and I found that the Ballista Rod was just the best for this fight and for most stuff that you'll encounter in pre-hard mode. I know the Flame Burst Rod is also really good, but the Ballista Rod was doing the most damage to Queen Bee, and I feel like it was actually a pretty significant part of this win. Also, the fact that I'm using the sharpening station is pretty much useless now, because I'm using a whip pretty much the whole time, so I never get the chance to go over to my broken copper short sword to give those minions that extra little bit of damage. But that didn't matter. The Queen Bee was surprisingly a lot easier with Summoner than it was with Ranger or Mage. And of course the next boss, the final boss of this video, is Skeletron. So for the Skeletron fight, I put on a pygmy necklace to get a 3rd imp, and I used a recall potion to get to a base that I'd set up in my arena so that Skeletron didn't spawn kill me. Now, that has happened where Skeletron has spawn killed me even with the recall potion, because it literally spawns on top of me. But that didn't happen this time. Skeletron, as I've said before, is very easy, really in all difficulties. I feel like it really needs a buff, though, in normal mode, because once you get the hands off, there's nothing the head can do. It's just a glorified king slime. It's easier than Eye of Cthulhu. It just floats. And so, without the skulls for it to shoot, a no-hit is really the expectation. So anyway, this only took me 2 attempts, and the Wall of Flesh, if you're wondering, has so far taken me 28. So expect that, the Deerclops, and all hard mode bosses in part 2. I hope you have a good day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Tomorrow is International Japanese Goblins Day, so happy International Japanese Goblins Day, and bye. Also, I should mention that on my 17th Wall of Flesh attempt, I actually won, and I put it in this video, and I was ready to start editing, and I looked over the tape, and I had gotten hit. So, what that means is that for the last 11 attempts, the world has been in hard mode, which has made it a little bit harder because of the tax collector dudes. And it's going to make Deerclops a lot harder because of all the hard mode snow biome enemies. So, that's going to be fun.